Well, hello folks, it's me again. So while we're waiting on parts for the Gen 3 Hemi, the stuff I ordered that nothing fit anything, you can watch another video on that. But anyway, I wanted to do a video regardless of that this weekend, and I hope people can maybe get something out of this. And I saw this video earlier this week on YouTube. I believe his channel is called Cars on Cars. It was K-A-R-S on Cars. And if he's watching, man, I hope he gets to see this. But he made a really good video, and not to be a plagiarist, I kind of want to customize it to my channel. And it looked like he was restoring an old C10 or something, but he had this topic, and it was talking about basically build it or buy it. And that's a great topic, because we see this every day. And especially, I'm going to kind of tailor this to really the muscle car thing. You know, we do a lot of 50s and 40s stuff too, but we're kind of tailored to the muscle car era stuff. So I'm going to talk about, you know, basically your Chevys, Olds, Buick, Pontiac, Ford, Mercury, Plymouth, Dodge. But what he was saying, he was talking about, I think, like C10s and Novas, but he said it doesn't matter. It applies to all of them. He's right. It doesn't matter if it's a Cuda, a Challenger, a Cougar, a Mustang, a Chevelle, a Camaro. So I actually went and looked at some things. So the topic was basically about, you want that car or a muscle car, let's just say, and you say, well, I really want this type of car, but I'm not going to pay said amount of money for this car. I'm just going to build it myself. Well, I'm going to tell you right now, you need to think twice about that, because, this is from personal experience as well. There are cars that obviously are halo cars. I'm not going to get into those cars, right? I'm not going to get into the purists, you know, Hemi Cudas, you know, real LS6 Chevelles, Shelbys. Those are kind of way on up there. You know, they're out of my league. And not to say that I would love to have a Hemi Cuda. That'd be, yeah. But I kind of like things that are kind of tailored a little bit, modern things, but not to veer off of the subject. You think about what it's going to cost to find said car, and when you go in to do the on the buy is where you're going to really get burned, or you're going to get a deal. But by the time you figure it takes to get that car up to where you want it to be, and let's not even get into the resale. You're not going to go in, I'm sorry, you're not going to go in and say, well, I want to be a car flipper. I'm going to go find these muscle cars and I'm going to buy them for this price and I'm going to sell them for this price. There's probably some people on YouTube maybe that actually successfully do that. I haven't really seen it. I'm sure there are people that do it, but you know, flipping classic cars in general, most people these days now, because of the internet and what you see on TV and YouTube, they know what they got. You know, there's a Torino down the road here that we just moved up to Oklahoma earlier this year. There's a 69 Torino fastback, the Talladega Torinos. It's an aero car, and it's a 428. You can see the little bubble in the hood sitting off in the woods. Those people, I've talked to other people around here, they're not going to sell it. It's I'm going to fix it up one day. Meanwhile, the earth is reclaiming the car right now. So it's a shame. There's those people out there. But you say that, hey, I've always wanted a 67 Camaro. Let's just do one of the most common cars out there. It's a kind of, you know, normal car. You see tons of them at the car shows. I went and looked at prices on some of these cars. And I'm going to tell you right now, from experience and from what we deal with in this shop, we've dealt with in the last 10 years from people buying these cars, you are going to be better off buying that car than trying to go back and build one. You go and buy one, you say, well, it looks like it's a good fixer-upper. You know, they only want, $5,000 for this, let's say 68 Camaro. Looks like they only want $5,000 for it, and I can get into that car. It's not drivable. They've got all the parts. It's sitting there. Does it run? Maybe, maybe not. You buy that thing and you don't inspect it and like you should, or get somebody else to go inspect it. And I'm not talking about a real Z28 Camaro. I'm just talking about a, dime a dozen, just small block car even, or even a 6-cylinder car. You get looking at it, you start diving into this project, and you're like, uh-oh, looks like the quarters got a lot more rust than what we thought. It may have even had a decent paint job on it. Somebody put some lipstick on a pig. You go and look, uh-oh, maybe even the frame rails are rotted. You've got something there that you're going to spend probably $50,000 to $60,000 on to get it to be a decent car. Let's talk Mustangs. They've made millions of them. Cool cars. I'm not saying they're not cool cars. We worked on tons of them, and especially the fastbacks. Again, especially wherever that car came from. You're going to get into that car and you're going to say, man, I want something I can take to cruise night. I don't want a show car, just something I can have fun in. Well, you get it, and unless you've got a wrecking yard out there full of Mustangs that you can get, that you've got access to, not everybody has that, right? I'm talking about the common person. Man, you start going into that thing and realizing the body needs work. It needs all kinds of, basically needs to go back on a rotisserie to have all new floor pans put in it. The engine, well, you kind of start figuring out it's a little tired. It's kind of ticking. It's smoking. The interior, none of the instruments work. The wiring harness is been hacked into. It's a horrible mess. You spent a whole lot more money than to get that car up than if you just went to go buy that Mustang. Ask me how I know. In 2003, well, all my life, I've always wanted a 69 Dodge Charger. 2003, I was back I guess I was in my 30s. I find one on eBay Motors, and it was in West Virginia. I'm looking at the car. I call the guy about it. Of course, I'm bidding against other people. These cars kind of started getting pretty popular about that time. I win it. I think I bought this car right here for $7,000 in 2003 on eBay. Now, I was in a different place financially. Okay, I was in my 30s. I thought, I'm going to get me a 69 Charger. I've got a shop built. We had a little small shop built. This was our first home we had there in Texas. And I get my buddy that I worked with, his name's Perry. And we drove from the little town in Lothian, Texas that we lived in after I won the bid on the car. Talked to the guy up in West Virginia, and he said, hey, I'll meet you at the North Carolina state line. I had a trailer. I had a new 2003, one of those new Dodge Hemis when they first came out. I'm on the road. I'm booking to Tennessee, or actually North Carolina. I get up there to see the car. I never went and looked at the car in person. That was the first mistake I made. I just bought this damn car on eBay and spent $7,000 is a lot of money today. Is a hell of a lot of money back in 2003. And I'm going to tell you right now, that hurt coming out of my pocketbook back then. It was red and it looked really cool from about 20 feet away. But hey, it's a 69 Charger. Drive all the way back home. So I literally drove from the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex area, let's just say, to North Carolina. I'm so excited. And I literally drive all the way back. I think I didn't sleep for like probably 36 hours. It was a dumb thing to do, by the way, or maybe 28 hours, however long that was. Don't ever do that. Anyway, I digress. I get the car back and clean it up and all excited. It was drivable, but it was scary drivable. It came with a 383. At that time, somebody put a 400 in it. Drum brakes all the way around it. So when you hit the brakes, of course, it went over to the right, horribly bad, rattled. And then you would get to it. None of the beauty lines were there. It was a Bondo baby, I'm going to tell you. You could tell. So I said, well, you know what? I'm going to do a full resto on this. This is going to be a full Ray Barton Hemi build. So we get it all the way disassembled the whole car, a buddy of mine and me, and we take it to a well-known place in that area, and they do very good work, fabrication work. It was called Mastercraft at that time, and back then they did really good work. But the checks started having to fly out. I mean, money is flying out of my pocketbook faster than you can imagine. And I didn't have those kind of finances back then. So a lot of that stuff was going on the old credit card. Stupid move, by the way. Dumb move, putting things on a credit card. I'm sorry. This is not a financial video, but don't go abusing the damn credit card to do the mistakes that I made. I'm getting this place saying, hey, you know, every 2 weeks, need $3,000. Hey, gonna need $2,500. Hey, need $3,500. Golly, and it was just a shell. And hey, by the way, you're gonna get what you pay for on fabrication and body work. Okay, so I would say probably after the $7,000 purchase, and I would say probably 15 at that time in 2003, a good $15,000 worth of new AMD sheet metal. Well, not just AMD sheet metal. I had, back then, they weren't repopping fenders. I had to go to Stevens Performance, and I'm going to tell you what Stevens Performance does when you have to buy sheet metal from them. I'm going to keep this PG, okay? But Mr. Stevens, he's pretty proud of his stuff. But the fenders I got for this car, it needed a left front fender. It was a really nice Charger fender. I had to get skins for the quarters, obviously. Everything on this car was, obviously the pans, had to be replaced. Then I had to slow my roll, but it had to be primed. It had to be painted because I'm like, shit, I'm in the middle of this project. So now it had to be painted. Well, I had to kind of stop and save up some money for about 6 months. And it was in prime. It didn't, you know, everything was okay. But I was like, I can't keep it in this state that it's in. So back home where I grew up, there was a well-known shop that did high-end cars. They did Shelbys and Yinkos and all kinds of, you know, you name it. And I knew the guy. His name was Danny Temple. And they went in and finished the car out. And that was about 13 months that they had the car. But that was another, I would say, I think I ended up spending a total $13,000 in finishing it out. So you're talking a good $25,000 to $30,000 I spent by the year 2000, I don't know, 6 or 7. And then the car, it was on a roller, and then it sat for years because life was there. Life is happening. I had a daughter. She's doing things. We had a house and had, you know, all kinds of things that are happening, right? But the money I spent putting this car to where it's at now is probably, in today's dollars, is probably $70,000 at least. So basically, to share with you guys what I'm talking about is, if you can just slow your roll a little bit and wait till you're in a good financial position, wait till you can buy something that's a little bit nicer. So going back to what I looked up a couple different cars. This car here, friend of mine, Kevin, back in Texas. I'm not going to get into, you know, what he spent on the car or all of that, but he spent a lot of money. I will say this. He spent a lot of money on this car, and it's going to be superb. I mean, it's had top-notch work done to it, and it's going to be one hell of a car. Kevin is an Oldsmobile guy. He has some really nice Oldsmobiles. We built a lot of engines for him, Oldsmobile engines for Kevin and some of his friends and clients. Oldsmobiles. So I looked online and I like 442s. Great, badass cars. One of my favorites. So I found a 1970 442. It's a clone, okay? My car is a clone. Resto Mod clone. It's not a real RT. It's an SE car. This Oldsmobile is kind of the same thing. It's a W30 tribute car. Nut and bolt restoration. I don't know if I can insert the pictures or not, or if I can even find it, but I did this yesterday. He had it documented down to the chassis, everything. I mean, unless it was somebody like Kevin that could say, yeah, it's a really nice clone. You know, Kevin would know it's not a real W30 because he's an Oldsmobile expert. But $64,000 or best offer. I mean, this car was really, really nice. 455, 4-speed, had everything. You can't build that car. I would say you wouldn't be able to build that car for $55,000. He's probably going to come down on it some, I would imagine, being that it's a clone. But I don't care. I'm not necessarily a purist, but that's a hell of a deal. Here's I was talking about Camaros, a 1968 Z28 tribute car. This was another really nice car. What is nice is this Oldsmobile I'm talking about, but it was a car that, man, you could get in, go to the cruises, go to your car shows. A super nice car. It was a small block, had the horseshoe shifter. I mean, just a really nice, 68 Z28. And that car there, what was it? Ah, here it is right here. Full restoration. I mean, kind of like the Oldsmobile, $45,000, and it was a California car. We all know California cars in that certain region of California, they have that's probably the best place to find a classic car because of the climate. So, great car. Here's a 70 GTO Judge, not a clone. It was registered in the Pontiac registry. Now, this is a 1970 model, and it had a 455, and it sold at $50,000. This was not on eBay. This was on all these are off Facebook Marketplace. I'm not saying that's where you need to go. I'm just trying to get a feel for the market. That's all. You can watch the Mecum. You can watch all those different shows. I don't care. But again, good buy right there. $50,000 with that Pontiac. You couldn't build that car for $50,000. Here's a 70 Ford Mustang Fastback. It was a nice car. It was just a base. Was a 70 Fastback Mustang that I think the 69 70s are probably my favorite of the Mustangs. Everybody's got their own, but what a great entry level car. You couldn't build that car for $32,000 going and finding something in the field. That's not going to happen. Here's another one. 68 Roadrunner with a 383 4-speed, no rust. It looked like it was about a 20-year-old restoration. So, it had wear. It had wear in the seats. It had the normal chips, road chip. Very nice car. It was a very nice car. Don't get me wrong. I love having it sitting in here in the shop. But it was sold at $47,500. So again, that car, that Roadrunner, you're not going to build it for $47,500 in the way it was presented. They had it all documented. They showed the pans, all the rockers, quarters, or from where it was restored about 20 years ago. So it's very important. I hate to see people get into a project. This is what happens. Somebody gets into a project and they run out of money, and then the hobby has left them sour, and they're like, hey, I'm done. I'm just throwing my hands up. It depends on where you're at in life, right? So I'm in a much different place than I was in my mid to late 30s financially. No, I'm not rich. Don't. That's not what I'm trying to get at. But I'm just better off financially now. So, I've always wanted an e-body to complete my collection. We have our 68 Barracuda at Just Mopar Joe's. Now, that's another thing. I don't want to sound like a hypocrite because I'm putting a lot of money in our Barracuda. That car has sentimental value. My dad got that for me back in the 80s and has a lot of sentimental value. So I'm trying to get it. We're not holding back on that car. We're going full bore to make it one of the nicest 68 Barracudas, a really nice one. So resto mine. So yeah, That's a little different. But I just don't want to see people get into a project and then they run out of money because it's easy to do. So going back to what I was talking about with the e-body CUDA, I may, depends on if Trish lets me get one day or not, I don't know, but we've talked about it. I can find a 1970 Barracuda. Doesn't have to be, I'm not looking for, an original 440 car, a 383, 340 car. It could be a 318 car. I don't care. I can always, put a nicer small block in it if I wanted to. But it's just cheaper to spend that $60,000 on a nice 70 Barracuda e-body or maybe, $70,000, $80,000 on one. Used to $70,000 or $80,000 would have bought you an AAR CUDA, a really nice one. But the prices on those have just gone skyrocketed. They're so expensive. I'd settle for just a really nice 70 it could be a 318 car as far as I'm concerned. But that's down the road. So back to the build it or buy it. Unless you have resources if you really, really want that car, I think twice about it. You need to really, really evaluate what it's going to take to get that car to where you want it. I spent, again, a lot of money, and today, Chargers are pretty expensive. They've kind of gone up in that hierarchy where it's, a lot of people try to buy that car from me, and they're kind of coming up there where the e-bodies are at. So, I guess in that sense, I probably got lucky. But again, do you have to have that top or if the Chevy guys, if I can't afford the Camaros, they've kind of gone up too, right? So and Chevelles, but do you have to have that top of a line Camaro? Do you have to have that top of my friend Glenn, our customer friend Glenn, that has the Pontiac right here that we just built the 350 stroker for. He's got a 72, going into a 72 Le Mans, like I've mentioned before. He's going all out on this car. He's spending a lot of money on it. And that car was one of his first cars, so I think it has a lot of sentimental value to him as well, kind of like our Barracuda. But again, he's probably in a good place financially. He's, in his age, I guess. He's about my age. He's spending a lot of money on that car. So he gets it. And a lot of my friend Kevin, he gets it. So anyway, build or buy, think twice about that. And if it's something you think, if I can just hold on and save up money to just go ahead and maybe buy something a little nicer than getting myself in the middle of something, whatever it may be, just do that. And make sure you talk to your friends that are experts, okay? I know my Mopars pretty well. I don't pretend to be an expert, though, and I'm not. But I have helped other people go and look at Mopars that I knew were legit. My friend Kevin, and when it comes to Oldsmobiles, he's going to be who I refer to. He is I would consider him a subject matter expert on Oldsmobiles. So don't get frauded. Chevys, they're pretty common, but if you're getting into a real Z28 or a real LS6 or whatever, you better find somebody who knows their stuff. Same way with Shelbys. There are so many people been burned on Shelbys. I definitely would have an expert verify it or get a Marty report. So anyway, I hope that this topic kind of helps folks that are wanting a muscle car, wanting to get into the market. You guys tell me what you think in the comments below. We just went over 500 subscribers. Thank you very, very much. Now we qualify for the No Name Nationals officially. No Name Nationals, folks. So our Buick later on next year will be getting ready for the No Name Nationals. I think some people want to call me out, and we'll call some other people out. So it's going to be fun. So I hope everybody has a great Thanksgiving, and enjoy your day, everybody.